Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Kia ora, I'm Zoe George and welcome to the January episode of Fair Play, a podcast covering women in sport, from athletes and results to current affairs and issues. This podcast is made in association with RNZ and wispsports.com. If you're into podcasts as much as we are, check out RNZ for politics, crime and lifestyle podcasts and wispsports.com for everything to do with women in sport. This month, we celebrate success. A number of super talented women were given New Year's honours for their contribution to sport. We chat with world-class windsurfer and natural-born leader Barbara Kendall. Then a woman who literally kicks butt, karate's Ava Strong. We address the rise of women in football with football Ferns Sarah Gregorious. And we take a quick look at the upcoming Halbergs Awards. And of course, it's not fair play without an update on the toilets at the Basin Reserve. If you want to join the conversation, you can at RNZ, at Wisp Sports and at producer_Zoe. This month's co-host, who will hopefully give us some good tips on successes, sports psychologist Karen Nimmo. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Zoe.
So, before we fire away, what did you get up to over the summer break?
I've had quite an indoor summer. I've been finishing a book that I've been writing all about the craziness of the world we live in. So that's all complete and ready to come out in March.
Oh, fantastic. What's the title?
It's called, I don't know if I can say it on air, it's Busy as F. Asterix.
Love it. Yes, you can say that, Oni. I'm sure it's fine. So you've been busy writing. That's fantastic. Did you manage to get out at all? Because the weather has been just stunning in
The
Wellington.
weather's been fantastic. So, yeah, whenever you get the chance, I'm out there.
Nice. I managed to buy an e-bike over the summer break.
Very healthy.
Which was great fun. So look out, Wellington drivers. And I went to lots of cricket as well, obviously, at the Basin Reserve, our favourite ground. But I went to some domestic games and I noticed that they didn't have any female merchandise.
Yes, that's the hot topic, isn't it?
Yeah, and so I went up to the merch tent and I was like, hey, do you have a Blaze hat or a Blaze shirt? And like, no, we've got nothing of the Blaze, which is the Wellington women's team, who also just won the domestic T20 competition this weekend just gone. So well done, the Blaze. And so I ended up ringing Wellington Cricket and also New Zealand Cricket to figure out why that was. And they gave me this big long explanation, but pretty much said next year, next season, there will be merchandise. So I'm going to hold them to that.
Fantastic. And I hear the Black Ferns merchandise is starting to come too. So,
yeah.
you know, it's good.
Yeah,
it's
well,
good. We want to inspire that next generation.
Absolutely. And there's something quite nice about chucking on your team's jersey, no matter what team it is, and supporting them. So today's topic is all about success. What is it? How do we get it? And what happens when we actually achieve it? What is imposter syndrome and how do we cope with it? And what about tall poppy syndrome? Shortly, we'll be talking to windsurfing champ turned inspiring leader in sport, Barbara Kendall. But first, Karen, this might seem a bit of a rudimentary question, but what is success?
Well, it's not rudimentary to my mind. It's to live your life in your own way. That's my personal definition. But it's all about framing up what it means to you. However, when it comes to sport, we're very much outcome focused. We're not playing to participate, are we? We're playing to win. And that's both the great thing about sport and the toughest thing, because it does put the focus very much on how we do. And that can be immensely tough on people. I think success falls in the apex between hard work, talent and luck, really. And you do need a little bit of luck to help you on your way sometimes.
Well, my next question was, how do we achieve it? But I guess luck and hard work and talent are the three things.
That's the key. Yeah. And we all know we need a fair dose of each of those. It doesn't come easy, as we know, as we'll talk to some women who've really achieved on that stage, and I'm sure they'll share some tips with us.
What kind of emotional response does success bring?
Well, it should invoke joy, shouldn't it, and great pleasure. Not guilt, but in New Zealand and in Australia to some extent, we do struggle a little bit with that, which I think we're going to talk about. We do tend to not celebrate our success very easily, and we're all about the understated, low-key, humble approach, which, while that's part of who we are, we have to be very careful with, because if we're not able to enjoy and process our success, that can make us negative, and that can have all sorts of implications for our mental health.
Are we taught from a young age not to celebrate our own success?
I think in New Zealand we have a little bit of a problem with that. We're very understated. We don't like people who get too full of it and rush to congratulate themselves. But as I say, I really think we could and should do better at that, because it would really help our mental health and our mental state. Why not as well?
So let's move on. Our first guest for today is Barbara Kendall. She's a New Zealand treasure. And that title was reaffirmed earlier this year when she was made a companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit for services to sport. She's the only Kiwi woman to have competed in 5 Olympics, winning every colour medal, starting with gold in '92. Barbara also won 11 world champs and 25 national champs during her athletic career. In 2010, she stepped away from competitive board sailing and took up a role advocating for the rights of athletes, working with the IOC's Athletes Commission, Women in Sports Commission and World Anti-Doping Agency's Athletes Commission. She was a member of the New Zealand Athletes Commission for 26 years and chaired the Oceania Athletes Commission for 12. She currently chairs the Association of National Olympic Committee's Athletes Commission and is the Vice President of the International Surfing Association. I feel like I need a cup of tea and a lie down after all that, Barbara. My goodness.
I do too, actually. Let me sit down for a bit.
Barbara's also stepped into roles empowering future generations of Kiwis through both sport and visiting high schools as an Olympic Schools Ambassador for the New Zealand Olympic Committee. And Barbara was the chef de mission for the New Zealand 2018 Youth Olympic team. And she joins us from Auckland. Oh, Barbara, now I'm going to fangirl just a little bit, but when I was 17, which is not that long ago, you came to my high school and ran a session with all these incredible young athletes, and it was interesting because you asked us what we wanted to achieve, and I wrote down be a sports journalist.
Wow. So isn't it amazing how dreams come true?
So thanks for being an inspiration. I appreciate it.
No, it's been when I won the gold medal in '92, it came with a big responsibility, which I wasn't aware of until it happened. And because it was the only gold medal that year and the first time in 40 years that a female had won a gold medal for New Zealand, I sort of got launched into recognition and fame and becoming a role model. And so you either sink or swim. And I just realised that, you can influence in such a positive way that I thought, well, I better swim really fast here. And, it's been such a pleasure and a privilege to be able to have done all the work all over those years.
You were made a companion. Was that a bit of a surprise for you? Because you've received an honours before, haven't you?
Yeah, so I got a commemorative medal from the Queen in 1990, and then I got an MBE in 93 after winning the gold medal. And then when I got the companion, it was a bit of a surprise, but I knew I was kind of on the radar because, I've been working all the work that I have been doing has been in a voluntary role. So, and it's been such a big commitment. And if you sort of, chug along and do what you do because you just love it, but people started to sort of go, hold on a minute, she's been doing this and this and this and this. Holy, we didn't even know that you were doing that. And by the time I sort of retired or my term had finished on the IOC, I was actually sitting on 13 different executive boards, commissions and working groups.
Wow.
For sport internationally. And it just actually got a bit too much.
Yeah.
So I was kind of glad that my term finished and I could sort of ease out and then sort of become a bit more picky and choosy about which ones I want to put my energy into.
Yeah, well, where do you get time to sleep when you've got that many?
Well, it was called a really supportive husband.
Nice, we like those.
Yeah, and he's a keeper. We're coming up to being married 26 years now.
Wow.
And so we have a really great partnership. And I think any female that is successful, especially if you're having kids and you're trying to balance everything, you have to have this incredible network behind you. It takes a community to raise children, and that's the philosophy that we've always had. And I've had an incredible husband and neighbours, and when their kids start school, this amazing amount of parents around that are willing to take your kids to sport because you can't make it back or you're overseas, and then when you come back, you sort of trade, So it's always a juggle, but it's been very, very enjoyable and I feel like I've made a difference because I wouldn't do it if you were just faffing around and riding the gravy train. But when you do the work, you actually have set clear things that you're passionate about where you want to make a difference, and I've been privileged that being given that platform to really make that difference.
You've been talking about that support base that you have. What else, how else have you achieved success in your career, first as an athlete?
Success is different from every sort of age group and stage group that you're at. My version of success is very different to when I was an athlete. When I was an athlete, it was actually all about winning and, achieving those results on paper. And that ended up being quite pressurised, actually, a bit of a pressure cooker. And now, from what I understand and what I've been doing now, it's actually more about, the journey and the learning and all that sort of stuff, which I was doing as well. And that's why I stayed being an athlete for so long, because it was a vehicle for learning about all sorts of things of life and how the mind, body and soul all work together to get into flow and to get performance. And I just love that side of being pushed. But what's been cool is being able to now to put that into sort of the corporate world and the world that I've been working in, and trying to find that flow and going for it really from your intuitive state of knowing what's right and wrong and values-driven and principles-driven and making that difference. And I think I completely went off track, but that to me now is success.
Yeah.
Is actually you get to end of it and go, boy, I did follow what I really believed in, and I stood up for what I believed in. And if people don't agree with me, that's fine, because I was very happy in the state that I was when I made those decisions, because it wasn't politically minded, it wasn't power minded, it wasn't greedy minded. It was actually coming from a state of actually what's right to do here. And it's very hard when you get hooked up into the power, money, ego, and to ensure that those decisions you're making are actually for the right reasons, as for athletes being the heart of the Olympic movement.
Barbara, a slightly personal question. I just wondered, you've done so much. Have you ever felt burnt out? Because I've seen so many young women athletes that have struggled to do it all, especially when they get to that stage of wanting to have a family and things like that. What advice would you have for someone who's at that stage of their career?
Yes, I have got burnt out. In fact, I was really burnt out a couple of years ago. After I sort of finished from my IOC stuff, I was definitely burnt out. And it's taken me a couple of years to bounce back, actually, and I'm just starting to feel right now, to be honest.
Wow.
But it's, there's this philosophy that, just say yes. But my philosophy was no, say no, be picky and choosy on what you want to do, of what you're really passionate about, because I was pulled in so many directions. I didn't feel even though I gave it my 100%, it wasn't, I couldn't put enough time in it if I was segmenting up my time, and it was really hard to let go of things and just delegate and oversee things instead of trying to take control. So it was a bit of a sort of a balancing act of surrounding yourself by really good people so you could actually hand over the responsibility, and you knew that it was going to be okay and things were going to evolve how they should. And I had a bit of a priorities list as well of things that were really important to me, and one of them was adding value. Another one was family first. So if it was going to really interfere with family, of things that were important to me, then I was just going to say no, because if they weren't considered a family. And that was a really big thing when I first went into the IOC, because they hadn't had breastfeeding females coming into meetings and providing platforms for them to be able to stay, stay. So I had to really fight for, say, well, actually, if you want more females in leadership roles, this is what you're going to have to do. So I had to sort of pave the way for the young mums coming in and behind me. So yeah, there was just lots of things that happened all the way along.
Barbara Kendall is our guest today, talking about success. Your picks for the Halbergs. What's your... Yeah. Because they're coming up soon. They're coming up in February. We're just going to touch on it very lightly. We're going to talk more about the Halbergs later with football Ferns Sarah Gregorious. But under 17 football Ferns, you reckon team of the year?
Well, I would have to say, especially because I know a couple of the girls in that team. One of the girls has actually grown up with my daughter, and she's an amazing, amazing athlete. Even at preschool age, she was just an exceptional person. That's Anika Mittendorf, who was the captain, co-captain. And I know that they are a very talented, special bunch of girls, and so something that we mightn't have seen before, and the results really reflected that. I'm definitely for them, because I know people in it, and they're young girls, and they're all so talented, and there's this new generation that has this incredible awareness and consciousness about the world and about themselves and about what they want and what's right. And it's like the young kids that I took to Buenos Aires, it was such a privilege to lead these kids that were so conscious and so aware and so empowered, but values driven and respectful, and this team really epitomises that.
That was New Zealand taonga, Barbara Kendall.
Wasn't she fabulous?
Oh, amazing. And she has been an inspiration for an entire generation of women. She was talking about success, and something that I wanted to talk to you about too, Karen, was the notion of imposter syndrome. What is imposter syndrome and who has it?
Well, imposter syndrome is a psychological state where the person feels like a fraud, that they're not worthy of being or doing whatever it is they've been chosen to do. It fills you with self-doubt, inadequacy, and there's also a fear that you'll be exposed and the real you will be showing up to not know as much as everybody thinks you do. But, 70% of us suffer from it, supposedly, research says.
70%?
Up to 70% at some stage of our lives. Not on a constant level, but we'll experience it. And I was reading that even Michelle Obama has suffered from imposter syndrome when she was she is now high profile, but billed as a symbol of hope. She thought it was too big a mantle for her to carry. So, if we're feeling that, we're in quite good company.
How do we manage it if we do have imposter syndrome?
First of all, you've got to check your vulnerability. If you've got really high standards and perfectionist sort of, standards that you chase, that can put you at risk. I think women can be particularly vulnerable to it. I don't think the research stacks up and says so, but we all know that we have a tendency to, worry and self-doubt and put ourselves down when we're elevated into a position, of high achievement. To manage it, the first thing to do is recognise that it's very normal, and to look for evidence of your achievements and even to write them down, because I think often we dismiss those things quite quickly. We push them aside, we say, let's get on with it, or very well, we hardly stop to take praise. So to celebrate and to write down and to acknowledge our own success is really protective.
What about, though, when we celebrate our own success? Can that not come across as being a little bit arrogant or egotistical?
Are you talking about tall poppy?
Possibly. I could be talking about tall poppy.
I mean, there is a difference, isn't there, between success and drive and achievement and ego. And when it's ego-based, that's a little bit of a worry, because that's making it all about yourself. And if that's your driver, then sooner or later something will crack. Tall poppy syndrome, that's the culture in which high achievers are cut down or criticised or slated, and that goes on quite a lot. As we know, in New Zealand we are particularly bad at that. Social media has upped the ante with the trolls and things, and I think we have to be particularly careful because with the way we speak about people and about our high achievers, because it can have a devastating impact on our mental state. And there have been some nasty stories of very bad outcomes of people who've been cut down too hard, too fast.
And actually it happens a lot, particularly in elite sport and in broadcasting. We are in the public eye, and if we succeed, we do get chopped down. And if we don't succeed, we get chopped down as well.
That's
so
right.
It's almost a lose-lose situation.
It's not possible to do something now without being criticised because it's all in the public domain. But, what's your choice? Do nothing? So I think it's better to actually do what you must do, but make sure that what you want to do is something that you really enjoy and you love and you would do even if you were going to fail, because that protects you. If you're doing it for the wrong reasons, it's ego-driven, then there can be some cracks in the armour. So beware.
What's the difference as well between ego and arrogance? Is there a difference?
I think what we're aiming for is confidence and self-belief. Arrogance, well, particularly in New Zealand, we don't take kindly to that, do we? And it's fairly easy to see somebody who's over-pumping themselves and going too far. But I think when it comes to just celebrating your own achievements and those of other people, let's do that. Let's be really conscious and make sure that we do celebrate achievement.
All right, let's continue celebrating successful women. And the next woman literally kicks butt. Ava Strong was also recognised in the New Year's Honours. She became a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit for her service to karate and the community. Ava is the highest ranked woman with a Kiai-Doru martial arts and is also in the Dillman Karate International. And this is all outside the United States. She received her 7th degree black belt and Grand Master's ranking in 2009. She also established a martial arts school in Thames with with her husband Lance. And actually, Thames is close to my heart, Karen.
Why is that?
It's where I did my internship as a journalist when I was 19. So
Cool.
it's got a special place in my heart. The school's been going 35 years and is heavily engaged with communities spanning the entire Upper North Island. She's worked with youth in the Thames community and has fronted a campaign for child sexual abuse prevention. Eva also runs self-defence classes for women, including for the New Zealand Police, Wahine Toa program in Wellington. Kia ora, Eva. You literally do kick butt.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I'm a pacifist, really. Unless you say something not quite right.
Well, congratulations on your honour. Was that a bit of a surprise for you?
It was. It was a definitely humbling experience. And having to... They contact you around September and you have to be quiet.
Right.
And thank goodness Lance was also honoured so we could talk about
Together.
it.
Yeah. Why martial arts for you? Why did you choose that sport?
I guess the first thing was, like, my husband was interested in martial arts and I thought, well, it's another thing we can do together. And then it sort of just become a way of life from the side of, for personal fitness. Which was a huge thing, keeping yourself active, and then thinking about, well, what if I'm on my own, what would I do? So the self-defence factor then was a huge part of it.
What makes Ki Do different?
We're sort of a little bit of a free form. Ki Roo itself, like Ki being energy, I, harmony and balance, Do, the way of, and Roo is a family group. And we try and have a holistic approach. So we have, if you can hurt people, then you should be able to heal, as well as the mental side. So we have the self-defence. We have Warriors Wisdom courses, which is good for teaching people how to set goals, meditation, and for your well-being. And then the other side, we have pressure points that harm, but also to heal, like acupuncture, that acupressure, that type of thing. So we go out and we learn things from different systems and bring back what we believe will help our students to grow in many different directions.
Our guest is Ava Strong. She was recognised with New Year's Honours and became a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit for her service to karate and the community. Why is it important for more women to engage in martial arts?
There is the self-defence aspect, but it's also confidence. I think a lot of women lack confidence, and so you become a bit of a victim, and people out there are looking for victims. And if you can have confidence in the way you walk and you carry yourself, I think that makes a huge difference to not be that person, the victim that's picked on. You just got to learn some tools in your toolbox. A lot of women don't have that. And so if you go and learn self-defence, there might be one thing you learn that is the thing that saves you. And it's your right to fight back. If you've got some tools to fight back, then you're a little bit better off.
Yeah.
That's often not the message women receive, though, is it?
No, they don't. For myself, if I had to say, when I started martial arts, I guess one of my challenges was with myself being a martial artist and then men coming into the dojo, and I'm having to teach men. And I was intimidated, I must admit, for the first bit of my martial arts journey. But then you get the confidence, and it's your right also to be there. It's not just a man's world. Women are allowed to be in these systems and fight back.
How do you celebrate your successes in this realm? 7th degree black belt and grandmasters ranking in 2009.
Yep.
That's amazing. I mean, how do you obtain that, and then what do you do to celebrate that?
A lot of the gradings up to the 5th degree, 6th degree A are physical, where you've got to do your training and your sparring, but then after the 5th, 6th degree, it is more about the mental side and what you give back to the community, to your system. For me, it was running schools, organising all the things like the camps and gradings, running, as I said earlier, the Warriors Wisdom courses for people to attend. And it's more that side of it, and being that people ring up and just talking with them and being available from that side.
Being available and giving back. as well, right? To your
Amazing.
to your sport and to your community.
Yes.
Wow,
yeah, definitely.
35 years the school has been going. That is incredible. And you're all around the top of the North Island as well. That is amazing.
Yeah, well, Kaitaia down to Taupo are our main schools all the way down. And, I mean, Kaitaia is a great community to make a difference in. And, all of them it is. But, gives the kids something to do, helps keep them out of trouble and to focus that energy.
Must be a busy life. How do you manage your own stress? Can you tap into that wisdom?
My husband and I both, we go out for coffee first thing in the morning. I must admit, that's a vice.
Nice.
But we come home and after a little while then we meditate in the morning, every morning, for about 40 minutes. And then we go on about our day, and that could be doing a little bit in the office, connecting with everyone. But we also weight train a couple of times a week, running. We do about a 5K run about 2 or 3 times a week if it's possible, because even though we train through the week in our martial arts, because it's teaching, you're not as active as the students. We use that like we do all our own personal training and running through our own routines at home.
Ava Strong there, who is one of the highest ranking women with the Kiai Do-Ru martial arts outside the United States. She received her 7th degree black belt and grandmaster's ranking in 2009 and was recognised in the New Year's Honours. She became a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit for her service to karate and the community. Something, Karen, that I really liked about Ava was that she was using her success for good in the community.
It's fantastic. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Particularly once you achieve at high levels in your own sport, to then be able to teach and pass on. And I particularly liked that it wasn't just physical, that she also had a mental and psychological element. I mean, I would say that, wouldn't I? But I,
well,
but I
important.
think, I think we're whole people. We're not just physical beings. So, well done, Ava.
And success has to come from within as much as coming from the physical side.
It's best when it does. That's the really good feeling, isn't it? That's the joy that we can create when it comes from inside. And one of the ways that we can create that is by giving and being able to contribute to other people's lives.
How do we go about doing that without coming across as being pushy or arrogant? Well, I mean, we talked about arrogance and ego before, but I'm doing it if I want to do something and help the community and do it in a good way. How do we do that?
I think we just make an offer.
Yeah.
The people that are interested will step forward. I mean, you're right, we can't push ourselves down other people's throats. It would be quite weird, not to mention, ego-driven. But there's people are always in need in so many different ways. So I think if you've got something to offer it, because you'll really be doing some good.
Well, I think one of the biggest successes, particularly of 2018, was when the country was glued to the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup, where for the first time ever, New Zealand team made it to the semi-finals. The women's Under-17s came third, but returned home as champions. Everyone was talking about them. The team's also up for Team of the Year at the Halbergs Awards, New Zealand's premier sports awards. But what are their chances and what has their success meant for women in sport? Football Ferns forward Sarah Gregorious joins us. Kia ora, Sarah.
Hi guys.
The success of the Under-17s, what has this meant for women's football?
It put us on the map, really. I think there were a lot of people who stood up in not only here in New Zealand but overseas and were like, hang on, something good is going on down in that little corner of the world. Like, what's it all about? What's behind it? So I think it was massive. I don't think there's been a bigger statement on the world stage.
What do you think was behind that success for the team?
It's kind of hard to really put your finger on it. I think undoubtedly you've got a group of really talented young women and a coach who's really motivated and driven and ambitious and never put a ceiling on what they were capable of. And I think there was obviously something behind the scenes. Maybe it was a special connection or a bond or a sense of camaraderie that helped them kind of get the extra 1 or 2 or 5 percentage points that seemed to get them over the line in the tough games. So it's really hard to kind of put your finger on it, but whatever it is, we need to bottle it and hopefully keep producing it for future generations.
Are we seeing more resources being put into women's football?
I'm not too sure if it's a huge influx of resources. I think New Zealand football and football in general in this country, particularly the women's game, has always run on the smell of an oily rag. It sort of started to change over the last decade or so, and there's been some really good statements made, not only with the senior team, but also, it filters down into age group levels, and the programs that they put in place, I really give a lot of credit to New Zealand football. They do the best with what they've got. So perhaps it was a culmination of a few things, but I wouldn't say it was off the back of 1 or 2 or 3 years of injected funding into that particular group.
Do you think that we're going to see an increase of girls and women playing football now? Because normally if our teams do well, we see an influx of participants in the sport.
Man, I hope so. It's a dream, right? You want to inspire a generation. You want to get not only young girls playing, but also, older women too, falling in love with the sport again if they've played it in their youth. Maybe it's something that attracts them back to it. So, man, that definitely is the dream, and I hope it's able to do that.
On a slight side note, another success in football was the equal pay. How's that going?
Yeah, good. It's one of those things where it's not really worth the paper it's written on if people aren't abiding by it. So that's always a challenge, is making sure that each sort of new condition and new caveat to the contracts, is fulfilled. And that takes a lot of transparency. It takes a lot of really good dialogue and communication with the federations. But it's been really great. We've seen it make an immediate impact. I think we had players who were able to benefit from better travel conditions over the last couple of tours and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's making a huge difference. But I think, again, it'll be one of those things where once it's humming and up and running, it'll hopefully just be a stepping stone into, continuous improvement. I don't think we want to stop there. We want to keep pushing.
Football Fern forward Sarah Gregorious is joining us. Okay, back to the under-17s. They're up for the Halbergs Team of the Year. They're up against the men's and women's rugby sevens teams, who both won this year's World Cups and gold medals at the Com Games. They're up against the New Zealand kayaking team, who won silver at the Canoe Sprint World Champs, and the Black Sticks, who won gold at the Com Games and silver at the Hockey World League. Sarah, what are the chances for the under-17s?
I'm really hopeful and optimistic that they can pull it off. I think it's just such a massive achievement and one that we probably potentially might not see again for a while. And I look at some of the other teams on that list, and I have every belief that those teams can repeat that success and do it quite continuously. So I think, I'm biased, obviously take this with a grain of salt, but I think the anomaly of the feat in itself should be enough. Because, we're quite used to the Black Ferns Sevens winning and the All Black Sevens and the Black Sticks, and, kayaking has always been a really successful, certainly of late, sport for us. So we're used to seeing those kind of teams perform, but, man, for a football team to finish third at a global event this could be the highest achievement ever, and I hope that it gets celebrated and recognised for the outstanding and quite unbelievable achievement that it is. But again, I'm biased and I probably have a different take on these sorts of things, but I think it's just so extraordinary that I think their chances are pretty good.
I agree with you. I think it was phenomenal and such a feel-good story as well.
It was.
That lifted all of us up, so yeah.
If it was the under-17 men's team who had done that as well, would they win the award?
Oh, God.
Sarah?
It's such a tricky question. I would hope that male or female that they would take out the award. This honour if both were to achieve the same goal. I wonder if the conversation would be a little bit different, and I also wonder not just with the Halbergs, but how the extraordinary group and Leon as a coach as well would be treated sort of beyond that, because I'm sort of crossing my fingers and toes and hoping that with this bubble of talent, it's really kind of nurtured, because this is potentially a team that maybe ends up in a World Cup final at the 2027 World Cup, the Senior World Cup. So I wonder if we'd also be having conversations about, okay, how do we nurture this bubble right the way through? And maybe those conversations are taking place and I just haven't heard them. But it's always kind of a fascinating mental exercise to be like, well, if the gender was different, what would really be going on here? But I would hope, I'm optimistic that, whether it was a male or female team, that they would walk away with the deserved awards and deserved accolades. But yeah, God, who knows?
Football Fern forward Sarah Gregorious talking about the Halbergs under-17s. They were inspirational.
They were phenomenal.
And it was great to see their success and them celebrating their success and us celebrating their success.
That's right. Just that sheer joy.
Yeah.
We don't see enough of that.
No.
Or we don't all get behind it.
Yeah.
So phenomenal.
If we're celebrating success, not only ours, but those of someone else, and going, wow, this is amazing. And someone's like, oh, calm down. How do we deal with that? Because that's oh, calm down. That's the negative, isn't it?
Is that a close friend?
Oh, it could be. Oh, calm down. It's like, oh my God, the White Ferns have won something. Oh, calm down, Zoe.
No, I think in New Zealand we need to step right up because we've got far too much of that going on. So if anybody tells you to calm down when you're celebrating genuine achievement, step away. Go make some new friends.
That is good advice. Right, well, that's almost it for this episode of Fair Play, but it's not Fair Play without an update of the toilets at the Basin Reserve. This has now been ongoing, Karen, for 12, 13 months.
I love your persistence,
Oh,
Zoe.
thanks. It's what good journalists have, right? Persistence and tenaciousness. So in our conversation with Wellington City Councillor Fleur Fitzsimons in November, she said the number of toilets will be increased from 37 to 57, which the head of comms at the Wellington City Council confirmed is correct. He currently says that there are 27 permanent public toilets excluding urinals at the basin. This number is expected to increase to around 57 following the upgrades of the museum stand and the existing toilets at the northern and southern ends of the ground. The actual number of toilets required at the basin varies from event to event, and permanent toilet provisions is supplemented by bringing in temporary toilets as required. There have currently been no reported issues with the toilets at any of the events over summer. I am keen to see, though, whether or not they fixed the lock in one of the women's toilets. We here at Fair Play, though, are still keen to find out the council's workings and find out why going from 27 to 57 is where they get that from. And we invite the Wellington City Council and the Basin Reserve Trust onto Fair Play to discuss the numbers. We'll bring you an update in the next episode.
Meanwhile, dare to dream.
I tell you what, I am becoming quite the expert on sanitation facilities, and it's a good thing actually, you know, because you get into conversation with people about it, and it's not just women who are speaking up and those with accessibility needs. Now men are talking about it as well and saying how their facilities at the Basin Reserve are not up to scratch as well. So I think that a collective voice is a good voice.
Yeah, and also it's a basic human need.
Absolutely.
Let's cater well for it.
Absolutely. So hopefully they will get back to us.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
Thank you to my guests Sarah Gregorious, Ava Strong and Barbara Kendall, and of course a big thank you to this month's co-host Karen Nimmo. What are you going to be doing when the weather's good other than finish it? Your book's finished, right?
My book is all finished, ready to go for March, so that's cool.
So you're going to get out and enjoy some sunshine and go sailing, or...?
Unlike yourself, I'll be on my motorbike, so I'll zip past you.
Ooh, what kind of motorbike have you got?
It's just a little one, but I really enjoy that. I find that the most mindful exercise of all, because you can't think about anything else other than riding it and staying safe.
Yeah.
So that's my thing.
Oh, maybe we should get you on to talk about riding motorbikes next time.
I don't think I'm an expert by any stretch.
Anyway, look out for me. I'm not going to be on a motorbike. I'll be on a push bike.
I'll take care with you on the roads.
Yeah, look at you can find all the episodes of Fair Play at rnz.co.nz or at wispsports.com, and you can join the conversation at Wisp Sports, at RNZ, and at producer Zoe. I'm Zoe George, and don't forget to play hard but play fair.